Hey, Jocelyn Briggs here with Boundless Pursuits Coaching and Training. How are you? Happy Canadian Civic Monday to those of you who are in Canada. I hope you're enjoying your long weekend. We got really lucky where I am. They were calling for all kinds of horrible weather yesterday. I had so many friends post that it was raining and that they were like in torrential downpours, and we got no rain whatsoever. And it is beautiful today. Honestly, if I could live somewhere that had this climate every single day, that's where I would like to move. I believe it's called San Diego. So say hi as you're jumping on. I wanted to share a lesson that I've learned over the last year, but a mistake. Hey, Bella. Hope to see you tonight, Bella. A mistake that I've made in the past that I'm learning to correct, and that I'm going to work really hard on in the next coming months, because I was running with my girlfriend today, and we were reflecting on some old running adventures that we had, and we were joking about how we have this one friend who never seems to train or prepare for anything. Right? And so we used to do these really long, arduous, crazy events where literally they were so long that you really couldn't prepare in their entirety for everything that was going to happen. Like, it was inevitable that stuff was going to go south, that you were going to have to problem solve. And the people that were really good at this particular, distance or type of event that I used to do were people that were really good at problem solving. And my approach, and you might relate to this in life, right? My approach was always to plan and to prepare and to anticipate and to try to avoid making mistakes, right? And make sure that I did everything I could to ensure that everything went well, went to plan, and nothing ever does, right? And so what that taught me, although I'm only really just learning it now, is that it actually set me up in some ways more to fail than it did to succeed. Because what would happen is when things would go wrong for me, I would panic, I would have anxiety, I would get super stressed, I would get in my head, and I would start trying to manage the mental beast of like, what do I do now? Because things aren't going the way I thought, things aren't going the way I planned. It actually set me up to be really not very adaptable. So this friend of mine, and we used to joke, and we used to razz him, and we used to say like he would go into these events not trained, no planning really, very poor preparation, suffered tremendously because he didn't, but somehow he would always make it to the finish. And I thought to myself today, realized it's not that we want to go into things without planning and without preparation, but we want to not be afraid of things going wrong. And so what I was thinking about is, a couple of quotes that I shared today. Like, we often want to plan and prepare and not start things till we have, our ducks in a row, right? Like we want to start on a Monday. We want to start after we've gone grocery shopping, and we want to start when we don't have a birthday event coming up, and we want to start when all the stars are aligned for us. And how long do we wait for that to happen? Like, sometimes we wait a really long time, and sometimes and almost always those things never happen. And I've learned somebody taught me when I started my business, my friend Jen said, progress is better than perfection. And I was like, well, no, I was brought up to do everything, to the best of my ability, and to, everything should be perfect or as close to perfect as possible. And were you raised that way too? Like, my dad always, set the bar really high, and, things had to be, if you weren't going to do something right, then don't bother doing it at all. And I'm not sure I agree with that anymore, because when we only do things, if we're going to do them right, I think it keeps us from doing a lot of things. And here's the thing, I'd like to change that to, do your best that you have in the moment that day, but just start, right? And so it made me think today that mistakes are where the magic happens, because it's the mistakes that we allow ourselves to endeavor into that give us the biggest growth, that teach us that we're adaptable, that build our confidence, that teach us how to problem solve, if we spend our whole life avoiding making mistakes, we're never going to do anything. We're going to spend our whole life planning and prepping, and possibly never doing, because the planning and prepping might not ever end. So I share this with you because I think there is a tendency in our world, and for me, I know in the past, this was what I thought was my strength, maybe was my weakness, because when things go awry in our life, which they're inevitably going to, if we haven't built our problem-solving skills, or even the ability to cope with the unexpected and the uncomfortable, if we haven't built that up by allowing ourselves to venture into uncomfortable situations, we actually set ourselves up to fail. And so I read this excerpt in my book today, and I should have brought it out with me to read to you, but it said something to the effect of, basically, when we avoid being uncomfortable, we avoid being able to cope with anxiety, right? And so I'm actually toying with an idea for next year of a huge physical challenge that I'm not quite ready to share publicly yet, but it is going to mean taking my mindset and my ability to manage my thoughts to the next level. It's going to mean not being able to prep and prepare for a lot of what's likely to come my way, and it's going to mean letting go of anxiety around things that I don't have control over. So as I sort of thought about my friend who would just go into these things with, no training, no preparation, no planning, just kind of wing it, and yet finish, albeit he suffered an awful lot more than me, the ability to be comfortable and willing to suffer was his strength. And so my goal would be, going forward, to really work on my ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, discomfort or difficulty or adversity doesn't have to mean suffering, right? Like, just because something's hard doesn't mean we have to associate a meaning of suffering to it, right? Like, if working out is hard for you, it can just be hard. It can just be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to mean that we have all that anxiety and stress around it, right? Which is what I tend to do. If, anything in life that you're trying to forge into, whether it's changing your diet, whether it's stretching more, walking more, exercising more, whatever change that you're wanting to make and maybe resisting, it's most definitely going to be uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean it has to be suffering, right? Uncomfortable can be fun if we change the feelings that we attach to it, right? Or it can just be a thing, right? And the more comfortable you get with being uncomfortable, the more resilient you are. I mean, watching the Olympics is an incredible example of, seeing the athletes who are able to rebound when things go wrong. I'm not sure. One of my favorite moments of the Olympics so far was when, I can't think of her name, but she was running the 1500 and she fell and she freaking got up and won. And it's like, she literally fell and was 30 meters back, and she got up and she won in the last lap, not even a full lap. That is resilience. That is adaptation. That is being comfortable with things not going the way they're planned and evolving. Yes, Yvonne. Oh my God. And then went on to win the 5K later that day. I just live for that stuff, right? And so how can we, in our own little way, become more like Hassan, more resilient, so that things don't knock us down, so that things don't hold us back, so that we can step into being, bigger, better, more amazing versions of who we're meant to be while we're here. So anyways, that was all over the place. Happy Monday. And Yvonne, were you watching Daphne Skipper? She's one of my favorites, and I forgot she was from the Netherlands, and Yvonne's from the Netherlands. Love her. She's an inspiration because she's not my age. She's old for a track athlete, but oh man, she's a true inspiration. Have an awesome Monday, and we'll chat soon. Hey, if you need some support, I have a 90-day challenge. Yes, it started yesterday. You can still jump in, but maybe we can help you, just start to kind of make your way back and take on little things at a time, because mistakes are where the magic happens. Happy Monday.